Today we are going through how to be a successful trailblazer, how to be successful here at NCK Tech. And I'm going to go through some slides so that way I can keep myself on track here, because I could go on for stuff about student success and how to be a great student for hours. And I know you guys don't have that kind of time, but we are going to go ahead and get started here. All right. So there is going to be some interaction here with us tonight. So if you could, before we even get started, we'll go into some objectives first. But if you wouldn't mind just putting in the chat what program you're in and what campus you're on. So then we can kind of see all together kind of where people are going to be when they start in the fall. And then I do have a couple other things that we'll do interactively. But if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and go into the chat here for just this minute, as we wait for people to kind of get in and get their sound ready to go. Go ahead and put what program, what campus that you're in. So it looks like people have found that chat and getting started. So it's great to see people from both Beloit and our Hayes campus. So that is awesome. All right. So you can go ahead and load your program and your campus on there, but we are going to go ahead and get started here. So some objectives that we're going to cover for this evening is we're going to talk through how you can transition from high school or another college to NCK Tech, some things to prepare for. And then we're going to go over kind of my top tips for student success at NCK Tech and how you can, start off on the right foot and really be successful for your first semester, first few weeks, first semester. We're going to talk about the accommodations process, what you need to know as far as having an IEP maybe in high school or a 504 plan, classroom accommodations, maybe at another institution or somewhere that you have had in the past, and how you can get that set up with us here at NCK Tech. And then what you can do now to start successful in the fall. Many times we have students that really enjoy their summer, which is great, but then they come in onto campus and into the classroom and maybe aren't fully prepared for getting back into their education. Right. So we're going to go back into that chat. Thank you for those of you that have filled out your program and your campus. But now I want to see how you're feeling about starting with us. Some of you have probably gone through registration day with us. Some of you have probably done some of these webinars with us. So hopefully we can start to alleviate some anxiety, more preparedness going into the fall semester. Those that attended registration days with us, we had everybody fill out a survey. In that survey, there was a lot of students that were nervous or are worried or maybe don't feel as prepared. So now going through some of that information that you've received, going through some of these webinars. In the chat, just go ahead and throw in there kind of how you're feeling about starting classes now that we are, as of tomorrow, 1 month away from getting classes started. So I'll just give you a minute here. Go ahead and put that in there. And if anybody wants to unmute and kind of say how they're feeling, you can do that as well. All right. Braden, thanks for being honest. Colby, thanks for being honest. It is a new experience. It is, can be scary, can make students feel a little anxious, just not being able to talk through things and yet feeling how it feels to go through that first day, to meet those new people. And we know that we start with students every year that feels nervous. All right, so we got an IT mom, so that's great. Glad you're taking notes. Thank you for doing that. Um, you'll hear kind of a common theme of communication with us here tonight. And I think that's what is really important, is for students to really advocate for themselves, for you guys as students to really start to get the feel for what your campus, who is on your campus, and who is going to be able to help you through those times when things are when your anxiety rises a little bit or you're nervous about things. So thank you for sharing, those of you that shared. All right. So let's talk about transitioning to campus, transitioning to college even. Those that attended registration day, Dean Britt and I, Shane, we talked a lot about being acclimated to your environment. So that pool, that image of a pool and jumping into the pool and not being fully prepared to know how it's going to feel, how cold the water is, how deep the water is, who's going to be around you. And even my favorite probably from the summer is the cleanliness of that pool. So what we found helps students a lot is just talking about how to get acclimated to. So it's important to be realistic about what your expectations are of college. What are your goals? What are you hoping to get from college? It's the next step in your educational experience. So there's a lot of responsibilities that come on with that. But we're all here to help you with that transition. We're all here to help you get to know those resources, get to know the people around you. So be patient with that process as it comes, as new things are coming your way. Allow time to get used to your environment. It's so important to ask questions. Ask questions, share your concerns. You're probably not the only one that feels that way or that needs a little bit extra guidance and has some concerns. So, and if you are someone that we've never experienced that with before, then that's okay too. We are always learning. That's why we all chose to come into education, is because we want to continue to grow as well. So there's no questions that we will not answer. So we're always going to be there to support. Get involved with your campus, also with your community. I'll talk through how you can do that into the future while you're here with us. But the more active, the more involved that you are as a student here with us, the more successful you're going to be as a student here with us. And then that's going to transition into your career as well. So getting involved is really, really a top priority for our students. Take care of yourself, get enough sleep, eat well, exercise regularly. This is a topic that I talk with students a lot about when they do become really anxious or really the stress gets to be at a really high level, is what do your sleep habits look like? And making sure that you're getting enough sleep. Don't ignore your feelings and don't try to cope with them in risky ways, right? So still making good decisions, still, getting that sleep, eating well, exercising regularly. All incoming new students are enrolled in Tech Connect. And I feel like really this is kind of a precursor to Tech Connect. We go into detail about student health and student wellness, how to get involved, different activities. So you're going to dive right into Tech Connect and get a lot more information, how you can get involved through that course. These are some of the resources that are available. Again, this was gone through at registration days, but I do want to go through it again. And there are some more things that are on here now, and different things that are on here now than there was at registration days as well. So we've got laptops and computers that are available for students. So in our Student Success Center here on the Beloit campus, and then in the BOC on the Hayes campus, there are desktop computers that are available. So students can log into those computers or check out a laptop. There's no cost to using those tools, those laptops and computers. There's also calculators that students can check out. So you don't have to you don't have to pay anything extra to check out or to rent a calculator. There's also free printing for those laptops and desktops if students want to print. We also have peer tutoring. So if you feel like you're falling behind, which my recommendation is to come and ask early on. Don't let too much time go by where you are struggling, but we'll get you set up with a face-to-face tutor or even online tutoring, which we now use BrainFuse, which has a lot of different resources within BrainFuse, but specifically 24/7 access to tutors. So if you're working late into the evening at a part-time job, we can still get you connected to a tutor at any time of day. So we'll do some training on how to access that as well. Mental health services has really grown over the last few years. So we make sure that students have access to counseling services. If you're a student that has a therapist or a counselor that you're currently working with, we don't recommend canceling services with them. However, we do have counselors that are on campus, or we can get you to them on campus. And then you can continue services either with them or start services with them. There's several options for providers as far as that goes. We provide quiet testing and study areas for students. This really is helpful and beneficial when students start to struggle with courses, or they're not really feeling like they're catching on to that content. So sometimes just having those quiet study areas available are there. During orientation, you're going to learn about where those areas are on both of our campuses, Beloit and Hayes. And then on our Hayes campus through our Gateway program with the Fort Hayes campus as well, you'll have access to some areas there. MyTrail, we talked a lot about MyTrail in some previous sessions. I'm actually going to do a demo with MyTrail tonight. So hopefully those of you that possibly aren't able to navigate it very well or not sure where to find things, hopefully I can answer those questions for you tonight. Communication is so important, making sure you're communicating with your instructors, advisors, support staff. That's like myself, Dean Britt, Dean Klein, Dean Brown as well. We'll go through, you'll get to know a lot of us at orientation, as well as your other gen ed instructors, program instructors, things like that. And I am going to go through a little bit more detail about communication with different people. Then I'll just briefly touch on career services. We help students find jobs. So that involvement piece to the community, to your campus, we can help prepare you for a part-time job, for a full-time job, different anytime throughout the year. And Tech Connect, I've already talked about, is that student success course that we offer to all students. We require to all incoming students. So these are just a few helpful apps that I would recommend students download. Hopefully by now you all have MyTrail. You just need your email, your student email, to log into that. You'll use your student email and your student password for that. Your LMS, so that's learning management system. That is like a lot of your online classroom work will be on Moodle, is what we call it. There's an app for Moodle. You don't want to use the Moodle app. That's really important to know. Not the Moodle app, but it's called Open LMS. And that's a picture there on the screen of what that app looks like. I would highly recommend downloading that. Then you have the Outlook email app. You can access email through MyTrail, but this is just an extra app for you if you choose to download that. Some students come in with Outlook already on their phones, but just something to recommend there. Evernote is a note-taking or to-do list. Some students had recommended this previously in the past. So it's a free app that students can use along with Otter. Otter is a transcribed lecture recording. So as instructors are lecturing, you can record them and it will transcribe along with recording. So you can see exactly what they're saying in text. as well as hearing it as well. So there's a limited number of minutes that goes with Otter, but it's a good resource as well. All right, so we're gonna go back to that communication piece. One thing that is probably of top priority is getting to know your instructors. So this is your program instructors, your gen ed instructors, your Tech Connect instructors, and I would even say your advisors too. Our advisors are also our gen ed instructors. So your advisor may be your gen ed instructor this semester, or next semester you may have them in class. Introduce yourself early on in the semester is what I would highly recommend. Even though it may be uncomfortable to introduce yourself and say who you are and where you're from, or even what your goals are. Knowing what your goals are is something that is really helpful. They are going to know that you're seeking them out and not just being kind of a fly in the corner, right? They're going to know that there's an investment in their class, and they're going to see that and they're going to feel that. And a lot of times students do so much better when they are able to have that interaction and that communication back and forth with their instructor. Ask questions. Go to class early and stay after late to talk with your instructor. So I'm not saying do this every single time, but I am saying that if by going and being to class early, lets your instructor know that you're invested in the class, you're invested in their time, that they are with you, and the curriculum, the content that they're teaching. Okay, when students show up late, it kind of counteracts that, right? Students they're then seen as not the top priority. So just be kind, be respectful, go in early, stay late if you need to. Office hours is something that we all at NCK Tech promote. I'm not sure a lot of students always use it though. I think calling it office hours, in my opinion, can be a little bit overwhelming. Office hours is a time that you can meet with your instructors to kind of talk through curriculum, or if you're not understanding something, or you need a little bit of extra time. And it can be overwhelming sitting in an office with an instructor one-on-one, right? But the importance of those office hours, it's really student time. It's time for you as a student. It's time for you to get to know the instructor and for you to take a priority with that course and with that content. Your instructors will see that. Your instructors will know that you're taking that special extra time to go through and be able to ask questions or get a little bit more information maybe. So they know that you're understanding the content thoroughly. And if you're not, then it's a good time to ask questions maybe in a different way, or have them explain things in a little bit different way. Taking notes during that time is always a good thing too. The next top tip is finding good study skills. Succeeding in the classroom isn't necessarily hard, but it takes hard work. So these are some things that I would recommend. So that first week of class, you're going to get a syllabus for every single course that you're in. That syllabus is really your guide to the course, your guide to what is going to be coming up, who your instructor is, how to contact your instructor, what important dates are coming up in that class. So it's so incredibly important to read the syllabus. Some instructors print out your syllabus for you. Many instructors will post it in Moodle. So that online resource, that online management system. So you can always print things out from there as well. You can always print out that syllabus from there. I would be happy to go through a syllabus with you if you have questions, but that is a really good opportunity for you to sit down with your instructor and go through the syllabus if you have questions. So some important things that are in there, I just made some notes here. Also materials that are needed for class. So through eCampus, which is our bookstore, you'll have a lot of those supplies already in there. But there might be other materials just to know and be aware of and make sure you didn't miss. Policies and not only course policies, but also some campus policies too are going to be in there as well. So it's incredibly important to know those. And then schedule, I talked about important dates and important assignments, things like that, which all assignments are important, right? But what the breakdown of that course is really going to be. So again, syllabi, very important. Number 2 is go to class. I mean, that seems pretty logical, right? You're coming to college, it's important to go to class. The less amount of class that you miss, the more successful you're going to be in the class, right? Because you are engaged, you're involved in class. You're there for every single point. And I would recommend, if you are kind of tossing up, should I go, should I not go? Always go, right? If you can't go and maybe you're really sick, or you have a doctor's appointment that you just cannot miss. Again, communication is important. It's important to let the instructor know prior to the class starting, by letting him know the day of, maybe even the day before, the day of, an hour before, after class is over. That's not helpful for them to prepare for the class. There may be projects that you're doing in class, maybe communication that happens that you can't miss. They want to be able to get that to you as early as possible, which is why it's so important to communicate. Sit near the front of the class, right? By sitting near the front of the class, it eliminates a lot of distractions. So some students can say, well, I don't want to be the focal point sitting in front of the class. That doesn't matter. You're not going to be the focal point in the front of the class. What is important is your education. So you're cutting out all those other distractions that are happening behind you, right? And you're one of the closer ones to the instructor. That instructor can have a lot more direct dialogue with you. Great instructors are walking around the class though. Great instructors are going to get everybody involved. So if the front of the room isn't your thing, that's okay. But just know sitting to the back of the class isn't always a safe space either. Instructors are going to be moving. Instructors are going to be engaging. So just know that as you get to know your instructors, you'll kind of see where your best fit is. And just because you start in that seat doesn't mean that you have to stay in that seat. If you feel like there are distractions happening, you can move to a different seat. Talk with your instructor. They might have to adjust some things too, but it's okay to speak up and say, hey, I need to change a seat because of something happening in the classroom. And that is okay. It's your education. So that's what's important to make sure that you keep in mind. Find a study partner. This one I really like because it holds you accountable. It holds you accountable to what is happening in class and being in class. One thing that I think is really cool every year, one of our programs on our Beloit campus, and I know this happens on our Hayes campus too, but seeing it directly happen here in Beloit is that their study groups are formed every semester. They might mix up their study groups. They might mix up their study partner, but they're helping each other get through that course. So that within that first week, get to know your peers, get to know your classmates, talk with each other and see, hey, this evening, let's go over the Success Center and maybe we can go through the vocabulary or whatever that nightly reading is. I think that's always really, really important and really helpful for students. And then just taking good notes. I will say that students normally aren't great note takers, but we've got lots of resources that can help students take good notes, take better notes. Highlighters are always a good way to document, those important words, those essential words that students need to remember for that curriculum. All right. So just moving on a little bit more about finding good study skills. Managing your time is incredibly important. There's a lot happening in college, a lot happening within our communities at different times of the year. But keeping in mind what your goal is, and prioritizing your goal above everything else. So a lot of times students will say, well, I like to give a little bit of myself to everything. That's not realistic, right? You're going to have to give more to certain areas at different times throughout the year, and that's okay. But keep in mind, you're not at NCK Tech, you're not a student forever. That's why it's so important to, and we recommend prioritizing your education. And if that can't happen, come to us and talk to us. Let us know how we can help you prioritize things a little bit better, because we know that happens. That's the reality of life and being a college student is having to have some balance throughout the time here with us. Study time, making sure that you are staying consistent with your study time, location or place, and circumstances. So being wise about choosing those areas. Consistency is key, and that's for online courses or face-to-face courses. Having that same location, that same time. So if, 7 o'clock in the evening, Monday, Wednesday, Friday Friday's probably not a day you're going to study. Let's be realistic. But maybe it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, Sunday. However it is, be consistent with that, and keep those times, locations, circumstances all the same. Have a growth mindset. I'm sure you're all going to hear a little bit more about growth mindset while you're here, if you haven't already. I gave a little picture to hopefully help, but it's really thinking positively in how you're going to learn, how you're going to take those challenges, see those challenges as opportunities, and grow. You're not going to stay stagnant. You're not going to stay in one place. You're not going to just give up. You're going to grow. That's what education is about. And that's why our students are so successful, is because there is growth there. Get involved and become a leader. Many of our students have to work. We know that. I'll go into some tips on jobs in a little bit. But working part-time on campus could be a great way for you to be a leader here with us. That first week of classes, when we have orientation, we'll go through what some options are for students and student leaders. Through our work study program, which is through the financial aid process, you have to be approved for. But also sometimes we have situations where students aren't approved for a work study, but we still need on-campus help from students. So that might be an opportunity for you as a student to kind of build those leadership skills as well. Go to campus events, get involved with those activities that student experience is going to have. Join clubs or even start a club. If we don't have a club that's here and available for you, Dean Brett shared this on his webinar a few weeks ago. But if there's something that you really want that maybe you've done previously and you haven't been able to do yet, talk to him, talk to any of us. We'll help you get that started, because there's probably more people that want to be a part of that as well. Volunteering, I think, is always a great way to get involved and show some leadership skills. We'll have different opportunities on both of our campuses throughout the year, so we'll be able to show and share some more opportunities there. But don't turn one down if you have that chance to. And just practicing your leadership skills. Be a leader within your program. Help your instructor make if there's decisions to be made or they're throwing opinions out or opportunities out. It's great, and it shows great skill to step up and take that on. Lead by example is always a great one. So within the first few weeks, we're going to be talking a lot about goals, and specifically probably in your Tech Connect class, and then orientation too. We do that within the first 3 days of classes. So of course, I mean, I'm sure all of you know about setting goals, but that helps keep you motivated during the year. And goals change sometimes, and that's okay. But keeping that vision on what your finish line looks like. Maybe it's to graduate, which is great. We hope that everybody graduates, but maybe it's to get a certain GPA, or it's to pass a class that you really feel like you're going to struggle with. Maybe it's to attend so many activities or get involved in campus in some way. It just really helps you to organize, have that goal, and then to organize your time and resources around those goals and getting involved. All right, so we get a lot of questions about working. And honestly, I don't know that we get a lot of questions as much as we get, I have to work, right? What I recommend, if that is you, is to talk with your program instructors about what's realistic about jobs. Some instructors that have maybe a really high rigor, maybe they might not recommend working. They might recommend working during the weekends. They might recommend working over breaks. They might recommend no more than 20 hours a week, which research does show working more than 20 hours a week, you start to see the decline in student achievement in classes. So keep that in mind. Within that, that survey that was filled out during registration day, I did see quite a few students that said that they needed to work 30 hours or more. Again, I would recommend some time management, coming to us and talking with us about how we can help that balance. There also might be some grants out there that you don't have to work, or you can work even less with some help with some grant funding. Outside of the federal work aid, there might be some scholarships that are available to you as well. Make sure you leave some time to relax and get involved on campus. The hardest thing for me to hear is students just saying they have no free time. You have to have free time in college. You have to give a minute for your brain to relax and regenerate and rejuvenate, and get be able to make up for time that you're going to have going into that next week or that next day even. I'm going to show you when we do our demo, I'll show you the list of jobs. I can also show you our student job board on our website. Hopefully you can all see the website here with me now. If not, please somebody just shout out something. But this is our student website, right? Under current students, you will see student job board under additional tools. Okay. So when I click that, which it was already pulled up, just wanted to show you kind of where it lives. This is where businesses can come to find, to recruit our students. So they're going to be the ones that are posting jobs here. But also for students, you can find a job. So by clicking that find a job, it will take you to a platform where you can really create a resume, create a login, and the system helps match you to jobs. You don't have to take those jobs, but it does help with that. And there are a lot of part-time internships and full-time jobs in there. So when you're ready to start looking at your full-time career, that will be there and be ready. All right. Whoop. Okay, so back to it here. These are some skills that we're really proud of our students for having. So these, you're going to hear more about these during your time here with us, but these are what we call essential skills. These are skills that we want when students graduate, we want every student to be proficient in, right? Of course, you're going to have your program skills, you're going to have your program objectives and standards as well. But these across the board are things that students are going to be able to do well. So communication, verbal, written, digital. We're going to have great leaders. We're going to have professional students, professional community members. There's, along with professionalism, you'll be doing mock interviews. You might be leading a group as well through leadership. So there's different things that you'll be doing. Ethics. Can you make good decisions when things get tough and when you're really challenged? Critical thinking, same thing. Can you think critically? Can you make a decision under pressure? A good decision under pressure. Lifelong learning, so continuing your education, continuing to go above and beyond, working well with others through teamwork, and diversity, not just working with yourself and people that are similar to you, but how do you interact with others that are different, right? And how can you be successful? How can you help others be successful around you too? Even though you may not be from the same place, you may not have the same likes, but you've got more culture around you as well. If at any time you feel yourself starting to struggle, it is important for you to say something. We tell students all the time how important it is to advocate for yourself. And that is something from day one till you graduate, and then even beyond then. It is if something is wrong, or you questioning something, then say something. Speak up to your instructors, speak up to your support staff. Maybe even it's somebody in the lunchroom that you've gotten really close with. We have services that we can provide to you. Maybe it's just a discussion that you just need to vent and get some things off your chest. But maybe it's a lot more than that too. So we would recommend, we can recommend counseling services to you for little to no cost. Okay, so we're gonna kind of switch gears a little bit here and go into classroom accommodations. So this is when a student has had an IEP or a 504 plan. So these are classroom accommodations and I'll go into some examples, but maybe you're a student or have been a student with a disability. Maybe you're here and you didn't know you had a disability, but you feel like you're really struggling with things. Going through this process, we can help identify some accommodations for you and with you, so that way you can be most successful during your time here with us. What is important is that self-advocacy, right? You as a student have to identify and say, I'm struggling with this, or I need help with this, or I have this diagnosis and this is going to help me be most successful. And remove barriers. That's what our goal is to remove barriers for students with disabilities. We can't assume that students have a disability. That is our number one thing across our campus, is not to assume anything, right? So students have to identify that they need that accommodation, or that they are looking for that accommodation. Students will complete an intake form and then provide appropriate documentation, which we'll go over real quick. And then we kind of start putting those wheels in motion with you. So that accommodation registration here on our website, again, it is found under current student, and then student accessibility services. Okay, so that brings you here to this website. And then it is going to go through a 5-step process. What you really need to worry about is the first 2. Okay, so you're going to complete an intake Google form, which goes to a Google form, and then it comes back to us directly. I can show you what this looks like. So students, you'll just fill this information out. There's a couple pages worth of information for us to get that process started. And then from there, you'll need to provide appropriate documentation. So what is appropriate documentation, right? What does that exactly mean? Well, what we will need is documentation. Could be an IEP or a 504 plan. It could be an evaluation that you've had by a doctor. It could be a letter from a doctor. Hospital reports, disability verification forms. Those are some examples. The more specific, the better. What we're looking for is a diagnosis from that statement or that form, that plan, and then kind of what the limitations are for the student. for you as the student. So then we take that information and let me pull back there. We take that information and then we form a plan. We take that information, we form a plan along with you as the student, and then we present that plan to the instructor. We will give a letter to the student. The student then provides that letter to the instructor, and then those accommodations are set up and completed really through the program. So some accommodations can be extended test taking time. It can also be a quiet testing area. It can be providing notes. It can be recordings for lectures. There's many different ones out there. There's screen reading, all kinds of things that we can do. It has to be reasonable, and we would help make sure that that student is accommodated for reasonable accommodations as well. And then after that, it's just a simple check-in, really monthly at most. Otherwise, we just really rely on the student to say if they're struggling with things. So, all right. What should I work on now to prepare for coming to NCK Tech and starting college? I like to recommend practical skills. A lot of times students, when they come in, they've never done laundry. They've never had to worry about being organized because someone else has done that for them or helped them with finances. They get, they start college with a lot of money, and then all of a sudden it's gone because they want to go to Sonic every day, or somewhere and spend a lot on food or clothes, things like that. And just basic cleaning, vacuuming, cleaning your toilets. It's good to start practicing those things now. So help mom, dad, whoever you're living with, help them out and start doing some of those things around the house. You can start organizing things now because you have a schedule in your Techno account. So it's great to get a planner out, whether you like the calendar app through Outlook, or if you want to get a paper calendar and start that. Medical conditions is another one that's incredibly important. Know and understand your health. Know and understand what your diagnoses are, or what your daily care looks like. If you have to take medication, make sure that you have that medication down to what you need to take every day, and knowing symptoms that might indicate that you need treatment, or that maybe you should go to the hospital, or that you need to see a doctor. I always feel like we're pretty prepared when students come in, but you as a student know yourself best. So if you can communicate those things with us, it's helpful. It's not something that is recommended or required for you to do. So that's why we want you as students to really know what your health conditions are. Again, start making some of these decisions on your own. Don't rely on parents. Start practicing now. Create checklists, prioritize those different things that you need to do right now. Okay, so some of these things have been gone through already. Just want to remind students that classes start August 21st. That's also the last day your bill is due. So make sure, it's really important to make sure August 21st that bill is paid, or your financial aid is already set up. If not, then we will be in communication with you that first week to see what your plan is. Education isn't free yet, our financial aid director always says. So we want to make sure that you're set and ready to go, and it's not your finances that are holding you back. Complete your FAFSA if you haven't already. Order your books and tools. So hopefully by now at this point, you're starting to really think about getting those things ordered if you haven't already. August 1st, financial aid vouchers will be available in eCampus. So a lot of times students do wait for those vouchers to be put in there, but just be watching for those. And then after that happens, after that's put in there, make sure you get on in there and get those ordered. Dean Britt shared to connect with your roommates. Make sure you're not waiting until the last minute, because if everybody shows up with 3 couches, not everyone's going to get to keep the couch, right? Check email and MyTrail frequently. Turn those notifications on so that way you know you're receiving information from us, because what we're sending out is pretty important. We're definitely not going to spam you. Practice good time management now. That way when you come in, you know what you need to be doing. And of course, this last month, enjoy your summer. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. While I'm pulling this up, I just want to see if anybody has any questions. What I'm going to do is do a little demo here with MyTrail, if I can get technology to work well. But in the meantime, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask away. Let's see if I can get this to work. Hopefully it will. All right, looks like it is. Awesome. I'm going to take myself off the screen because that's kind of hard to see while I'm doing a demo, right? All right, so looks like no questions. So we'll keep on, and then this shouldn't take too long, and then we'll get you all out of here. Okay. So hopefully by now, you all have MyTrail downloaded. This right now, what you're looking at is my screen. Don't pay attention to those notifications, by the way. So you'll notice MyTrail does not have any notifications because I stay on top of that all the time. But if you go ahead and go into MyTrail, again, this is a free download with your NCK Tech email. You're going to see the home screen right away. Okay, so that lower left hand, you'll see the picture of the house. Again, home screen. Okay. Then just kind of working my way down, you see a search bar here. So maybe I want to look up Jayme Owen because she's cool, right? So I can pull up her information here, and this is going to be all the things that are tied to me. Not sure why that one worked, but whoever has posted in there, you'll be able to see. So many times you can connect to us on there. Of course, it's not going to work well, but here we go. I had something that I posted here. You can click on my name. You're supposed to be, it's probably because it's me, right? But you should be able to push on that, and then you can connect with that person. Okay. So there's a search bar. Then you'll see this navigation bar here at the top. I just like to show students that it does scroll, and those will change at different times during the year. So obviously, starting in the fall into the spring, that summer checklist isn't going to be as important. Bookstore isn't going to be important. So you'll see those go away for a little while. Favorites here, just toggling them back and forth. You can edit that, and you can create your own favorites list. So what's important to you at that time, you can star. So I like to star food service, because here on the Beloit campus with a cafeteria, knowing what we're having for breakfast is important. My email, I like to make sure that I stay on top of that. Events, activities, things like that. So those are my recommendations. Make sure you star those favorites. Today's schedule and due dates, those are going to be tied to your Moodle. So when you start classes in the fall, or shortly after you start classes in the fall, we'll tie all that to Moodle, and you'll be able to see what classes you're supposed to be in, and when and where. Okay, then just moving on to that next one real quickly, you'll see the kind of building with the 3 columns, right? These are where your resources live. Again, at the top, we can scroll right through those, and those will change at different times during the semester. Featured this month, again, change during important times throughout the semester. You'll see student life. And I do want to note too, I am looking at the Beloit campus right now. So the Hayes campus, you guys might see something a little bit different, but overall, the layout's going to be the same. One thing in student life, well, a couple of things in student life I want to point out is events. So as we go throughout the semester, you're going to see different events in here. Fall semester begins on the 21st. We try to put that in there so everybody knows. But what's kind of neat is you can add that to your calendar. So now when the 21st comes up, that calendar on the homepage, it's going to show in that date today's schedule. Okay. Yeah, then just different resources around. You'll see community deals, so discounts around the community. Those are going to change and update throughout the year as we have more partners throughout our communities as well. Campus tools. It's good to go through that information and know kind of where things live, campus and community, those kind of things. Down at the very bottom, and I'll spend a little bit more time on this because it's kind of my area. It is my area. Student success resources. So preparing for the semester, that's got a lot of good information about being ready to start the semester, being organized, renting and buying your books, adjusting your schedule if you need to. Those are some great things to help prepare as well. Okay, then I'm just going to keep moving on here. You'll see student feed, and again, Hayes, yours is going to look a little bit different just because of the different activities and things that we host per campus. But this is very much Facebook-like in the communication section. We call it the student feed here. If you look at the top left corner, you'll see some pancakes with dots around them, right? The 3 lines there. This is where your message center lives. So you can direct message us through, and really anybody in the app, you can direct message. You'll see some public channels in there, and then some of you might see private channels. What private channels are really going to be used for specific classes. So once programs start, you'll see, if you're an auto student, you'll see automotive technology in there. And then you can connect directly with auto students or those students in your program, right? We like to post stuff in there, maybe about jobs, just about, different topics throughout the year, different events that might be happening that are specific to programs, things like that. So get to know that space a little bit, get to know kind of where things live in there. Notifications is just that, notifications. When something happens and you're kind of in relation to that, you're going to get a notification. So if we post something to all students, you're going to get a notification to that. Top right corner, that is how to turn on and off your notifications. I always recommend to students turn all those suckers on because you don't want to miss something, because we do post things that are incredibly important in there. Again, we're not going to spam you. What we're posting is going to be important. Then finally, the last of it is your profile. So this is really your trail. That's why we dubbed it My Trail. This is where it really, you can customize things a little bit more along with that home screen, right? That home screen is going to be very much personalized to you. But you can see here, I have some Colorado mountains I really enjoy. So I made that my cover image. Then my picture here. This area you can just edit. Oh. Well, you're supposed to be able to edit. There we go. So you can put in your headlines or your pronouns, whatever you're comfortable putting in. Some students don't put anything. Some students will put what their program is. That's really up to you. It is not something that we require. But you'll see a lot of staff and faculty that will have that headline posted in there. And then what group you're a part of. So we're part of, our current experience is the students, so that won't change. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And really that is the last of my my presentation. So if anybody has any questions, would like to see anything else, I would be happy to answer anything for you. Dean Klein is on this Zoom with us as well, so she'll be able to answer anything that you guys have as well for us. So, and if you don't have any questions, you are free to go. I appreciate all of your interaction and being a part of this evening. So we will See August 21st for the first day of class. And then also move-in day is August 19th for those living on campus. So Colby, it looks like we have a question. Will the instructors release the syllabus before the 21st? That is a great question. I think that some do, but I would, you would be okay to wait until that first day of class. They'll go over orientation information specific to your program. And that's when you'll get a lot of that information. If an instructor were to need you to get something early, tools and books would be what I'm thinking of. That information would have already been shared with you. Then hopefully that answered. Let me know if you have more. Do they have laundry facilities on the Beloit campus? Great question. Yes, they do have laundry facilities on the Beloit campus. It is right beside Dean Britt's house. Just on the north side, there are washers and dryers in there. And then we also have a laundry facility downtown, but I would highly recommend just using on campus if you're living on campus. So great question. Thank you for that. Any other questions for us tonight? I will hang out here a little bit longer if so, but if you don't have any questions, again, I appreciate you being a part of the evening, and we will see you, if not at move-in day on the 19th, we'll see you the 21st or 22nd of classes.